Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada. You know we love you in Africa, the Big C Trop, but there's no one we love more. You good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful January 24th, 2019, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, I had mixed feelings about today. I went out and had a nerve-shattering experience in having communications with a couple of people. We were talking about the government shutdown.
Yes.
And I had a gentleman, and it made me think what Hillary Clinton said during the presidential debate last year, Charlton, that there were some deplorables out there. Because, I'm serious, man.
Yeah.
That was an individual said that the reason why the wall needs to be built is that it's going to cut down on all the unsolved homicides in the United States.
Wow.
That he is accusing all the undocumented that's come across the border here into the United States, across the southern border, that they've committed all the unsolved homicides in the United States.
Wow.
This is how deplorable people can be, Charlton, is that you're accusing a nationality of people of coming in committing all the homicides in the United States, and that's the reason why this wall needs to be built. And this country will never be safe until this wall goes. That's the only thing protecting this country from safety, Charlton.
Wow.
And I'm looking at this individual. He said these people have to make sacrifices because the country is being shut down until the government gets what they want.
Yeah.
The president.
Yeah.
That he needs the money for this wall, Charlton. And then, Secretary of Finance today came out, Wilbur Ross.
Yes.
Made the statement that, well, not today, but yesterday, saying that all those government workers that are not getting paychecks, maybe they need to go out and take out finance loans, Charlton,
Wow.
to pay their bills.
Crazy.
He's saying that you should go more in debt than what you are because the government is not playing. He said he understands that they have to make a sacrifice for the better good of the government.
Wow.
How can you say that as an official in Washington, D.C., you're still receiving your salary, saying that the people who work to keep our country safe, air traffic controllers, Coast Guard, TSA, and many other government workers, Charlton, IRS processors, saying that they all need to go out and take out loans. Now, who's going to give you a loan? I haven't checked on that. If you don't have a job,
right,
that you qualify for a loan.
Wow.
They go say, oh, yeah, don't worry about it. You can't pay your bills, but we're going to give you a loan.
Wow.
That doesn't happen in society.
No, it doesn't.
But, he is saying that creditors will give you a loan and you're not receiving a paycheck. Because, there's a lot of people that would get in that line, Charlton. But so when I think about this government shutdown and how detached everybody is that's involved in it with the American public, Charlton, and how they're suffering, that when I heard this gentleman today, Charlton, I happened to be in a parts store, to state that, well, we need this wall to protect American citizens because all the unsolved homicides in Americans were committed by Mexicans, Charlton.
That's horrible, but we know it's all fair in love and war. We just got to shut it down. Big C, I want to take today's segment sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. Want to give a shout out to Woody Page, talking to someone who had done some advertising in USA Today by the name of Tony. Also talking with Big C Sports. And then I think MGM came in and did some sponsorship for Woody Page, who has a show on the Mothership. So congrats to that, Woody Page. We'll be reaching out to you soon. But I want to also say, for everybody that has an opinion about this government shutdown thing, I was talking to someone who's part of the military today. Now, military housing is a little bit different thing. You're taken care of by the federal government. But there are people who are associated with the military that rent. And some of those renters, they get a 3-day notice to quit when you don't pay your rent on time. It's not like a mortgage where you get, they can waive it to 30 days and they don't even bother you until you're 30 days late. If you miss rent by 3 days, they can give you a 3-day notice to quit and get out. Well, a lot of people are coming up on that time. They're suggesting that POTUS is going to pay all those rents for people who are missing those paychecks. It just doesn't make any sense. But I want to make sure that for everybody going through something, you got to realize, just follow, and I don't say it flippantly, follow the advice of many African Americans, because many of us have had to deal with times where we were told no all the time. For hundreds of years, it's not about just being done for 30 days or 34 days, Big C, and we found a way to make it. So with that, keep your head up and keep pressing forward. You can't count on POTUS. Don't think it's going to change. You got to have a backup plan, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when I think about the people who listen to what the president says, yesterday down in Sebring, Florida, there was a young white male, Charlton, who went into a bank. Grayson Xavier executed 5 women in a bank, Charlton. 4 of them were bank employees.
Wow.
One was a 65-year-old retiree, Charlton, that was going in to check on her account.
Wow.
Execution style, though. This was a white male. Wow. This is something the president won't talk about. This is what his, Secretary of Defense, of Homeland Security won't talk about.
Yeah.
Just like this conversation of this white male today, Charlton, in this parts store saying that Mexicans are coming across murderers. The president uses that statement.
Wow.
Murders and rapists. This is the 21-year-old white male. As we talk about in our show many times, Charlton, is disgruntled white males murder more Americans than any race.
Yeah.
This guy goes into a bank, Charlton, and executes 5 women. We constantly talk about no violence against women in America should be tolerated on any level.
Exactly.
The president, you won't hear one word about this, Charlton, from the president.
Wow.
Now, he will use the homicide rate in America if a Mexican commits a crime, Charlton.
Yeah.
But here's a 21-year-old white male who listens to the president's message.
Yeah.
About take America back. He goes in and executes 5 women in a bank.
Yeah.
We don't hear the president talk about this, Charlton. We talk about the security of our country, and the president can't even keep women safe in our country.
Well, I think that's number one, I'm sorry, I didn't even know that happened, and it's shocking news that it does happen, because had it been a person of color, it probably would have been all over the news, especially coming out of the White House with Kellyanne Conway and Sarah Huckabee Sanders. But it's amazing they're kind of quiet about that. I didn't know about that, Big C. Our thoughts and prayers are definitely with their families. I want to also say, in the universe, sports has the power to change. Sports and education have the power to change. It has the power to inspire. Sports and education does. It has the power to unite the people. Sports and education does, in a way that little else does. That's Nelson Mandela. If only our POTUS could understand that, also with Congress, if they could understand that both sides can win, Big C. I know they just turned down, it got voted down again, the chance to fund the government, because all people who have a lot of money is not affecting them. At the same time that we can't fund our government, Big C, when Mandela, who served 27 years in prison for fighting for equality, he was told no 27 years. We're talking about the government saying no for 34 days. Mandela made it through. What message can people don't count on POTUS. What message can people learn from Mandela, as we always say, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think that POTUS is starting to feel the pressure of the country, is that people are not rallying behind him as much as he wants to say that the American public understands suffering so that he can get what he wants, even though he has a chef cooking for him every night, Charlton.
Yeah.
Whether he wants to eat in the White House or whether he wants to go to his hotel down the street.
Yeah.
He has a world-class chef cooking for him, and he doesn't have to pay the bill.
Wow.
But the American public, Charlton, is suffering for no reason.
Yeah.
The funding for the wall had been there when we had the Republicans controlling the House and the Senate, Charlton.
Yeah.
The money was offered. He turned it down, Charlton.
Yeah.
Not until his constituents, Rush Limbaugh, Fox News, and these people start saying, well, without this wall, he's going to be a one-term president.
Yeah.
He's listening to these people, Charlton.
Yeah.
And he's not worried about what the American public thinks because his approval is rating down, Charlton, around 36%.
Yeah.
That means that 64% of the country, Charlton, doesn't approve of that.
Yeah.
But he wants that 36% to get what they want.
Wow.
I mean, that's even more than what Mitt Romney said.
Yeah, 47%.
He said 47%.
Yeah, don't care and don't want to work.
But when we look at the economics, Charlton, of how it's impacting everybody,
yeah,
it's impacting the sports world.
Yeah.
You think about a lot of those government workers, Charlton, attended sporting events, whether it's college or professional.
Yeah.
They're no longer able to do that now, Charlton. And I guarantee you, for some government workers, Charlton, who had Super Bowl tickets,
yeah,
that they're going to have to sell those tickets, Charlton, other than attend that game. They can't afford to travel,
yeah,
deal with that hotel room, Charlton, the expenses of being on the trip, as well as the Super Bowl game, Charlton, the price of that ticket.
Yeah.
So when you talk about it affecting sports, think about college basketball, Charlton, is going on right now, ladies and men's. It's heated right now.
Yeah.
A lot of these government workers in these cities attended these games, Charlton.
Yeah.
They cannot afford to take their kids to these games now. Something that might have been a life ritual, Charlton.
Yeah.
That they got to say, hey, we can't do this now because dad or mom cannot afford this, luxury that we provided you with for years because there's people controlling our purse strings that we can't control.
Can't control, yeah.
But, I was so appalled by Wilbur Ross yesterday, Charlton, the President's Secretary of Finance.
Yes.
Said that, he understands what these people are going through, that they should just go out and get a loan.
Wow.
Help themselves out. Because, this is a matter of something that they have to make the sacrifice for.
Wow.
How can you tell people that they have to make the sacrifice, Charlton, and yet you don't?
Yeah, that seems to be status quo. Ironically, because they're in a different status. There's a billionaire. I'm not saying he's affiliated with POTUS.
Well, Wilbur Ross is a billionaire, Charlton.
Yeah, and another billionaire, Ken Griffin, just bought a $247 million home in New York. It's the most expensive property in the USA. He's not affected by the government shutdown. He's not a pro athlete. He's not an entertainer. And there are people like that have the ear of POTUS. So if people are being evicted from their apartments at that 3-day, you have a 3-day right to quit. Pay or quit if you rent. It's not like the 30 days and then the bank starts calling you, hey, we noticed you missed your payment. Is there something we can do? No, these people have 3 days. And if they have families, they don't give a darn about them. Ironically, many of these people are Caucasian and they voted for POTUS. Sadly enough, I know someone who was telling me, well, don't you think that POTUS is doing a great job? The stock market's up. Well, that was about 6 months ago she was telling me that. At the same time, about 6 months later, she's saying how difficult it is to make it. Caucasian lady. They may look like they're doing okay, but a lot of them know when your belly starts hurting because you can't eat, then it doesn't matter what color your president is. A lot of these same people that are suffering, they hated President Obama. Some said they couldn't trust him, like the knucklehead lady that the late Senator John McCain took the microphone from. And I know for the people that follow sports, if you're so dumb that you only watch a sports program and they're telling you who won the game, is Harden going to shoot for 61 or is Curry going to go off for another 3-point barrage, if you're that dumb and you don't get anything about what's going on in the White House, shame on you, because that's why it keeps happening. Big C, in the world of sports, James Harden, and we talked about it just yesterday. I tell you, Usain Bolt's the fastest man in the world. And in fact, Usain Bolt might just be the fastest man in the universe. He never starts a race from start to finish, being in the lead. He always comes from behind. Well, Harden, and I know you talked about it the other day, his legs may wear out on him sooner than his arm. And I know they have to get some other players back to save him, like Chris Paul needs to come back, Capella got to get healthy. But Harden, his streak continues last night. He dropped 61 points in Madison Square Garden. You're pressing enough to bring that up before the game because all the sports shows all over the universe have been talking about it today. Just want to get your thoughts. And what gave you the sense that he would have such a game and the game would be so close in Madison Square Garden where the Knicks are not even that good? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I'm looking at the plight of James Harden, and you get in a rhythm as an athlete.
Yeah.
Understanding what your opponent is. And also the venue that you're playing in.
Yeah.
James Harden knew he had an opportunity to become part of history last night, Charlton.
Yeah.
He only plays in the Garden once a year. He had a streak of consecutive 50-point games, Charlton, that he wanted to keep going on the grandiest of all basketball stages, Madison Square Garden. Regardless of the Knicks' record, Charlton,
Yeah.
that is the mecca of basketball because so many great events have occurred there, Charlton, between NCAA games and high school championship games, Charlton, as well as NBA
Boxing
championship games.
Yeah.
And we went through that list of great scorers, Charlton, that have had all-time road games at the Garden.
Yeah.
Now Harden can hang his hat in the rafters with the rest of those, Charlton.
Yeah.
But having an opponent like the New York Knicks, Charlton, knowing that Harden knows that he is the life and breath of the Houston Rockets at this moment, Charlton, because of the injuries that they have suffered. And if he doesn't score, this team is not going to score. There's been so much talk about Harden throughout his career that he's a selfish player.
Yeah.
You show me what professional athlete is not a selfish player, Charlton, who does not want to hold the mantle of being the best.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once you achieve the pinnacle, Charlton, then you can defer to others. But when we look at all the great scorers that we went over last night in the Garden's history, whether it was Kobe Bryant, Rick Barry, Wilt Chamberlain, Elgin Baylor, Charlton, Michael Jordan,
LeBron James.
These players, Charlton, LeBron, when these players were playing in the Garden, Charlton, they were all the stars of their team.
Yeah.
No one questioned that they were the real leaders of their organization.
Yeah.
James Harden gets so much of that backlash now today. When Jordan scored 60 at the Garden, no one said, wow, Michael's hogging the ball.
Right.
The Bulls can't get any better without him.
Yeah.
When Kobe Bryant got his, Charlton, no one said, Kobe's not looking to pass the ball.
He never looked to pass.
Wilt, you think about Wilt. Wilt was, set a record for scoring in a season.
Hold on, Big C. Scoring basketball. Let's just clarify when you talk about Wilt scoring.
Well, I'm not talking about the house parties that you and he used to have, Charlton, okay? We don't keep that out of the show. Let's talk sports.
You like Kirk Cousins. You like that.
When people complained about Wilt scoring too many points, what did Wilt go out and do? He led the league in rebounds. He said, okay, I'll get 24 rebounds tonight.
Yeah.
People said, well, he's scoring too many points. He's getting too many rebounds. He said, okay, I'll go out and, lead the league in assists.
Yeah.
You think about that. The guy's leading the league in scoring, rebounds, and assists. James Harden is doing that with the Rockets right now, Charlton.
Yeah.
He's their leading scorer. He's their leading assist man.
Yeah.
He's second on the roster in rebounds.
Yeah.
And he still gets criticized.
He gets criticized, but I've got to get your thoughts. I know that Wilt did not have a three-point basket, but I believe you said you saw Wilt play Kareem one time. You saw those two match up. If I'm right about that, tell me how Wilt fared with the greatest scorer in the history of the NBA and the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, formerly Lou Alcindor. What was that like, if you recall? Because that would tell you how Wilt could have compared had he played as long as Kareem and how they matched up. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, at that time, Wilt was the all-time leading scorer in the NBA.
Oh, really?
When they first started playing against each other.
Yeah.
Now, you got to understand, their relationship goes back to when Kareem was in high school with young Lou Alcindor.
Yeah.
That's when they crossed paths and met and created a bond, Charlton.
Yeah.
As competitors in the NBA, it was much-watched TV.
Yeah.
All of Wilt's offensive skills hadn't diminished, but he had deferred a lot, Charlton, to the team that was around him.
Yeah.
He had great players that were there as a supporting cast.
Yeah.
He had Happy Harrison, Jerry West, Dale Goodrich.
Yeah.
He had these players on the roster, Charlton, that it wasn't all on Wilt's back.
Yeah.
Kareem, was a dominant player during that time. He was an upstart. He had a shot that even Wilt could not defend.
Yeah.
But Wilt could out-physical him when he needed to go to the basket, Charlton. That was the advantage that Wilt had over Kareem. There was a lot of mutual respect between the two, Charlton, but there was so much competitiveness between the two. This was a young guy trying to take the mantle from the proven veteran who had been there, Charlton.
Yeah.
And Wilt's career, had a championship, had a couple of them in it already.
Yeah.
Kareem was trying to get to that level. Although Kareem only had one championship while Wilt was in the league, Charlton.
Yeah.
But he went on to become the greatest scorer in NBA history after Wilt's retirement.
Let me ask you your thoughts, though. because a lot of people didn't get the chance to see. Well, if they did, it was kind of on an old grainy tape. Who would you say would embody the game that Wilt had? For example, Jordan, people say, oh, LeBron James. If you say Steph Curry, oh, maybe Jesus Shuttlesworth, Ray Allen. If you look at someone that could pass, that was a great assistant, they say John Stockton was a lot like maybe, Rajon Rondo today. Who today has the same kind of game that Wilt had? Would it be Giannis out of Milwaukee? Would it be Joel Embiid? Would it be someone like Boogie Cousins or Davis down in New Orleans? Is there anyone that you look at and say, you know what, he reminds me of Wilt's game? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charles, to me, the closest to Wilt's game that I've seen since Wilt's retirement and death would be Akeem Olajuwon, Charles.
Oh, really?
Wilt was quite similar player to Akeem Olajuwon. He was very athletic.
Yeah.
He was more mobile than what people thought he was, Charles. He had more than the dunk shot. He had the finger roll.
Yeah.
Just like, Hakeem the Dream.
Yeah.
He had multiple moves, Charlton.
Yeah.
He wasn't the greatest of free throw shooters of all time, Charlton.
Right.
But he could dominate the game without dunking the basketball. That's what a lot of people don't remember about Wilt.
Yeah.
They think he just dunked the basketball. No, he didn't, Charlton. He would pirouette around the basket. He was very light on his feet for being a man who weighed close to 300 pounds.
Wow, that's incredible. Isn't it amazing? The leading scorer in the NBA in the history of the NBA. In fact, the leading scorer in the history of the universe, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, wasn't really a dunker. He did it with the sky hook. So his sky hook was analogous to the three-point shot today. People all around the world understand the sky hook. There should be a statue somewhere of the NBA with Kareem in the sky hook, because he's probably the only player in the history that could do it the way he did it. As we come back to today's current times, in fact, I want to make one more comparison when I get your thoughts. Because you saw, there was one time I was in LA about a year or two ago, and there was a poster that I'd never seen before driving back. It had some Laker greats. It had Wilt, it had Kareem, it had West, it had Magic Johnson, and Kobe Bryant. Ironically, Shaq was not there. Now, I know people can't go back and compare things in time. I talked to you about that before. Compare a 1968 NFL team against a 2018 NFL team, and they would get wiped out. 9 out of 10 times they'd lose. If you looked at Shaq, and Shaq may have been better as a Laker than he was when he played in Orlando and in Miami, would you say that Shaq had the ability that could have stopped Wilt the way maybe Kareem couldn't back in the day when they were playing? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think it's been more of a standoff. I think Shaq may have fouled out against Wilt. Wilt's offensive game was very dominant, Charlton.
Yeah.
People say, well, he didn't play people that were equal to him. It's like in any other sports. There's always a dominant individual.
Right.
That dominates over time.
Yeah.
Whether it's football, basketball, baseball, hockey, Charlton. There's always someone in the era. It's just like with Gordie Howe and Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah.
Gordie was the greatest until Wayne Gretzky came along and broke all his records.
Yeah.
So you're always going to say that. When you think about Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris with their home runs, all of a sudden they're broken by several players jumping in a single season.
Yeah.
Hit more than 60 home runs.
Yep.
So, these are the things you look at in a time.
Yeah.
I don't know if Shaq could have ran with Wilt. A young Shaq could have. An older Shaq could not, Charlton.
Yeah.
Wilt had the legs to move up and down the court. He was not a sluggish player that would only camp under the ring.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah.
He could take the ball outside, Charlton, and like I said, he had more moves than the dunk.
Yeah.
The thing that everyone looks at Shaq at, Charlton, is that he relied so much on the dunk shot.
Yeah.
When you look at Olajuwon, he victimized him with his mobility. And like I said, Wilt is more kin to Olajuwon than he is to Shaq.
Wow, very good point, Big C. As we look at what happened last night, everything is about a game of inches. It's a moment in time. Victor Oladipo, a rising star in the NBA, he's lost for the season last night with a ruptured quad tendon for the Indiana Pacers. Obviously, everybody's sad about it. He really didn't seem that pain when he went down, but once you get the report, then a lot of things, you got to get into the rebuild mode. Not necessarily this might sound dumb, won't be the first dumb thing I said, but it's not necessarily a bad thing the way medicine is now. I think about players that were injured and came back strong after a leg injury or a foot injury. Kobe Bryant came back even better than ever. Steph Curry came back after some foot injuries, better than other football players. Adrian Peterson, he came back better than ever. Marcus Cousins, we saw what Boogie's doing just back in a couple of games after tearing his Achilles tendon. So with the training that we have today that we did not have 20 years ago, it's not really a career-ending thing the way it could have been. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I think it's a career-altering thing, Charlton. We can talk about how medical science has advanced over the years.
Yeah.
But look at your quad. Your quad is the largest muscle in your leg, Charlton.
Yeah.
That Achilles tendon has been taken care of for decades, even without modern surgery, Charlton. People have recovered from Achilles tendon injury. It all depends on the type of athlete that you are.
Yeah.
But when you think about a basketball player, Charlton, he relies more on his quads than he does on his ankles. You know, you can put a support on an ankle
Yeah.
once you've had an injury to it.
Yeah.
Even on those torn Achilles, Charlton, they brace them up, they tape them up. What do you do about a quad? Reach down, grab your thigh. Anybody.
Yeah.
That's the muscle that he ruptured. That quad right there, Charlton. That's
Wow.
like, an old lineman, severing the tendons on the back of his leg. That's what that equivalent to.
Yeah.
This injury has never been dealt with from a professional basketball standpoint, Charlton. We talk about people not coming back from devastating injuries. I mean, you think about Joe Theismann, which will be the first to come to mind.
Yeah.
That horrific broken leg that he had on that Monday Night Football game against the Giants. And now Alex Smith of the Redskins had that same type of devastating injury. Alex Smith's NFL career, I think, is over, Charlton.
Wow.
Because of that devastating leg injury.
Yeah.
And so this is the thing we're looking at with Victor Oladipo. I mean, young player, Charlton, out of Louisville, who had a promising uprising in the NBA in just his second season, Charlton.
Yeah.
Was on that all-rookie team, should have been an all-star starter this year, Charlton, at guard.
Yeah.
One of the most prolific scorers in the Eastern Conference, and was the leader of that team.
Yeah.
But this is one of those career-threatening injuries, Charlton, when you're talking about a quad.
Yeah.
And all the stress that a basketball player is going to put on that in every play. You look at Kobe when he had his Achilles injury, Charlton. Kobe was never the same again.
Yeah.
He was never rising like he was at one point. We look at Boogie Cousins. He's 6'11", Charlton. I mean, he's got to rise 3 inches to dunk a basketball, so it's really no big deal. You're not asking him to put the stress on that Achilles as far as a fast break point guard, Charlton, the guy that has to be out, the leader of the pack.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Victor Oladipo was that point guard in Indiana.
Yeah.
This is the guy that the offense went through.
Yeah.
Will he be able to recover? You hope for the best, Charlton.
Yes.
But this is going to be a marginal recovery if he can.
Well, I wish the man nothing but the best and the help of medical science. Also, if we think about science, medicine, how things can cure people. We talked about the CBD oil that the CBS Sports doesn't want to advertise during the Super Bowl, but we'll see beer commercials and we'll see other commercials that have things that are maybe not as helpful. Many NBA fans last night, they were exposed to measles in a Portland Trailblazers game. Now that virus can stay in the air for up to 48 hours as a highly contagious person at the game. Now we talk about TSA, how they check everybody getting on an airplane, making sure you don't have anything that can be harmful or dangerous to the airline itself and the people on board. We talk about how you can scan people going into a courthouse. You go through the x-ray machine and they have the wand to make sure anything happens. That little buzzer goes off. We have nothing to protect people from being exposed to something dangerous in the air like measles. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you think about the CDC, Charlton. That's one of the departments that's affected by this government shutdown also.
That's right.
This is the department that's in charge of tracking infectious diseases around the United States.
Yeah.
And they're understaffed.
Yep.
And with this huge outbreak, and this outbreak took place in southern Washington, Charlton.
Yeah.
And a person from southern Washington traveled down to Portland to this basketball game last night, Charlton, at the Rose Garden.
Yeah.
A highly infectious person, Charlton. And this stuff stayed in there for 48 hours. So we're talking about an airborne virus that was amongst 20,000 people last night in the Rose Garden.
Wow.
That can potentially be catastrophic. Measles can cause death. This is not anything you look at lightly, Charlton.
No.
It has caused deaths to thousands of American citizens. And now that the CDC, Charlton, is understaffed and not being paid by the federal government, he's talking about people bringing disease across the border, okay, Charlton?
Wow. Yeah.
We have people in with disease that are infecting potentially thousands of Americans last night in an arena that the president is not even aware of, Charlton. He's want to put out this fear-mongering that disease is coming across the southern border, Charlton. We have people in America affected with diseases, and the federal government knows nothing about it because they're not paying their employees.
Yeah, and the guy knew he was ill, so that's just reckless behavior. I want to get your thoughts real quick. One more story I want to just get your thoughts on in the NBA. Boy, it would have been great to see LeBron James go up against Wilt. Not as big as Wilt, but just as physical and as powerful as Wilt Chamberlain. That comes to my mind. But, you know, LeBron, if he had to play against Kareem, he wouldn't do as well. I mean, he just wouldn't. He, as talented as he is, Kareem would have swatted a lot of his shots. But LeBron James' status today, who's hurting most? The Lakers or Las Vegas? I think Vegas is going to make money in different kind of ways. I would say maybe LA Lakers. Big, see your thoughts.
Well, you know, I beg to differ on that, Charlton. I mean, when you think about LeBron starting the season with the Lakers, you have to look how much money was being wagered on the Lakers. Vegas was making a killing. People were betting on the Lakers. Lakers were losing. Okay? They weren't winning. They weren't that dominant team that everybody thought LeBron would go in and make an instant success, Charlton. They were spent the first 2 months of the NBA season, Charlton, under 500.
Wow.
And now that LeBron is out, Charlton, they've gone back south again. But the money is not being put on the Lakers in Las Vegas like it was prior to Christmas, Charlton. So Vegas is taking a financial hit with LeBron being out of the lineup. So when we talk about sports and gambling, we know that the NFL is partnered up with Caesar's Palace. So, you know, this Super Bowl might be a little different from all Super Bowls that we've seen in the past. I mean, look at the finals and the playoffs, Charlton.
You say they might.
The NFC finals and the AFC finals. That was a different finals than we've ever seen. We've never seen both of those go into overtime with controversial endings like that, Charlton.
Wow.
So to say that Vegas hasn't had an immediate impact on the NFL, Charlton, after partnering up with them, I mean, only anybody who wants to be naive and blind to the realization of money would not even look at that.
I think the great Will Smith did a movie called Focus. Maybe they should make Focus Part 2 now that the betting's been made legal everywhere by the Supreme Court. Sometimes you just got to believe what you see with your eyes, Big C. The great Richard Pryor told us that. I want to look at just tonight's NBA schedule. Not a great schedule. Golden State at Washington. Minnesota at the LA Lakers, as we talked about. Sacramento Kings at the Memphis Grizzlies. You have the New Orleans at OKC. And you have Portland playing against Phoenix. I mean, even with the talk of what happened at the Rose Garden, or they call it the Moda Center, I just hope that if you have some type of illness, just take care of the public, take care of yourself, and don't go to the arena if you're sick. Sometimes at a gym, they'll have a sign that's so, I mean, you got to have it because some people are just ignorant. It says, if you have loose bowels or if you're experiencing diarrhea, please don't swim in the pool. Who has to give that sign? Wouldn't you know not to do that anyway? But that just shows what happened up in Portland. There's some people so reckless and so dumb, they don't even care about the general public. And like POTUS was saying, they didn't come from one of those S-hole countries, Big C. That's native born. I want to say sports is a billion-dollar industry. Girls and boys sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Benemark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports, whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, or your mom and pop soccer league. When you reach out to them, let them know Big C sent you. Big C, Bryce Harper, Manny Machado, they want more money than the billionaire Mr. Griffin that bought the $240 million property in New York City. They're not worth $240 million. They're trying to get $300 million. Bryce Harper's never been in the World Series as far as I know. He may have been a player that was pushed by media, but at a time he was batting like .215, and he was still trying to get $300 million. It doesn't make any sense, especially when we see guys like the great Barry Bonds, who we knew he was the greatest player in baseball, in my opinion. And maybe to say, hey, kid, everybody has a choice. Machado, last I saw him, he was striking out in the World Series versus the Red Sox. Why do they think they're worth that kind of money? They're probably going to get at least $200 million, but they're not worth $300 to $400 million. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, if they were going to get 3 to 4, they would have already signed already. I mean, baseball has come to the realization that they're not going to let free agents hold their ransom. You know, so the money has dwindled in baseball. All you have to do is look at the stadiums, Charlton.
Yeah.
And people are saying, well, we cannot afford to go out and pay these players, Charlton, that type of money. But if there is a move that occurs with Harper and Machado, wouldn't it be ironic that they could both end up with the New York Yankees?
Probably so.
You think about some of the big moves in the past that George Steinbrenner, Charlton, used to make that shocked the baseball world.
Yeah.
The Yankees are a market, Charlton, that can afford players. They know they have to go out and compete with the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah.
That's their nemesis. And when you look at the Boston Red Sox roster, Charlton, it's young. They're going to be there. They're vibrant. They have a solid pitching staff, solid players in the field, Charlton. The Yankees have always been a splash organization.
Yeah.
Now you think about that. You bring in Harper and Machado, Charlton, to go along with Giancarlo Stanton and the big kid that they had that was Rookie of the Year a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Out of California. I can't think of his name at the moment.
Yeah.
But he won the home run derby. You put them in that lineup, Charlton, because you have the DH in the American League.
Yeah.
You can fit these players into that lineup, Charlton. New York can afford the luxury tax for the players.
Yeah.
So I think if baseball really wants to see the competitiveness, you know, everybody's crying in the NBA about the unfair advantage that the Warriors had because they have Cousins and they have Durant.
Yeah.
Players don't want to go to organizations, Charlton, where they're just part of an organization that's losing.
Yeah.
It's not all based on money after you've been a professional athlete for 5 years, Charlton.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's based on getting to that championship.
Yeah.
And so I don't see either one of these players. I know there was some money tossed out by the White Sox, Charlton, to Machado, and the Sox had the worst record in baseball last year, Charlton. Why would he really want to go toil in that situation of obscurity? He had just left Baltimore where they had nothing. And you talk about Harper, who's never made it to a World Series.
No.
That's the ultimate goal of these players, Charlton, being in a position where they have a chance to play for that World Series championship.
Yeah.
And so I would not rule out the New York Yankees with either one of these players, Charlton, being put in a position to say, hey, we want to win now. We're not worried about the building process 5 years down the road.
Yeah. I think Harper is second place compared to Machado. Machado's a much better athlete, much more well-rounded athlete, in my opinion. That's why I think he helped the Dodgers get to the World Series, even though he couldn't help them win it. And Harper seems to be a lot of hype. I just don't see. They pushed him so many times. Yeah, he's a home run derby champion, but that's his dad pitching to him in a staged event. That's not what he does in the regular season. Big C, I want to swing some thought to the NFL. I know we have the championship game coming up, but Cam Newton, we talked about injuries to Oladipo. Newton had rotator cuff surgery today. He'll be treated gingerly like Andrew Luck was for the Colts, allowed to set out the next season. I just don't want to see a player rush back and ending his season too soon. I hope at least that's my thoughts, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, when you look at Cam Newton, Charlton, this is his second shoulder surgery in as many seasons.
Yeah.
And so there has to be some concern from this organization, the overall health of Cam Newton.
Yeah.
They didn't allow him the time to recuperate fully, Charlton, from the surgery last year.
Yeah.
Forcing him back into the lineup. Now, Charlton, he's just had the surgery today for the second time in 2 seasons on that same shoulder.
Yeah.
This is the same thing that ails Andrew Luck. People say, you know, when will he start throwing again, Charlton? It should be a year before Cam Newton picks up a football and throws the ball realistically. I had rotator cuff surgery, and I was a lineman, Charlton.
Yeah.
It took me months to be able to lift.
Yeah.
I never had the rotation in that shoulder again, Charlton, that I once had. I couldn't lift as much as I lifted in years prior to that, Charlton. So when the NFL looks at this situation and the Carolina Panthers, Charlton, how will they treat the black quarterback versus how the white quarterback was treated?
Maybe, hopefully better than they treated Doug Williams after setting touchdown passes in the Super Bowl, Big C. John Harbaugh signed a 4-year extension with the Baltimore Ravens. Will he take the time to groom Lamar Jackson, who's African-American, who was so maligned after winning a Heisman Trophy, being drafted to the NFL? Maybe people are saying, well, maybe he should be defensive back. No, he should play wide receiver. I think he won the Heisman playing quarterback. And now they gave the man a chance. And he won. He won enough to get the Ravens into the playoffs. Flacco wasn't able to do it. But even during that time, talking about will he have some care and concern to groom Jackson, well, the fans were calling for Flacco in the playoffs, but because they were having a tough time with the LA Chargers. I hope that Harbaugh will have some patience with Jackson. Do you have the same thoughts, Big C?
Well, Charlton, I think that's the reason for the contract extension by the organization, to say we're not going to be better off with the players that we have here with another coach over John Harbaugh.
Yeah.
He made a statement as far as who he wanted to play at quarterback, Charlton, by putting Lamar Jackson into the lineup. Lamar Jackson responded, Charlton, going 7-2 as a starter in his rookie season.
Yeah.
I think with the offseason OTAs, Charlton, that he'll have a chance to be more integral in the offense, that they'll fashion more things as far as what they do to his skill set.
Yeah.
He had to take over an offense, Charlton, that was set for Joe Flacco's skill set.
Yeah.
So they really didn't have time to change up everything, Charlton. Now you got a complete offseason to adjust your personnel to Lamar Jackson's skill set, Charlton. Not only that, you have RG3. I feel that they will keep as the backup quarterback to Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
I see Joe Flacco moving on from this organization, Charlton.
Really?
And them restructuring the Baltimore Ravens to be Lamar Jackson's team.
Well, hopefully he'll have success. Just give the man a chance. L.A. Rams head coach Sean McVay returns to Georgia 15 years after he was the State 4A Player of the Year. Now, you think about him as a young man. I think he was 22 years old when Gruden called him in and had him do some things. I keep holding the clipboard and having to diagram some plays. So as a young white kid, 22, now he's the head coach in the NFL. Now, many people were saying, well, he's the youngest head coach to go to the Super Bowl. But as a 22-year-old man, he was not an offensive coordinator when he got his first chance to hang around NFL players, or even Gruden when he's doing his quarterback deal. But he's been around the NFL for a long time, but he was given the opportunity. There's some African-American men who are 40 and still haven't been given that same chance. Big C on his birthday, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you think about McVay and the lineage that he came from, you got to realize his grandfather, Charlton, was the general manager of that great 49er legacy out in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So he had plenty of opportunity, Charlton, and that's where Gruden met him, Charlton, when he was part of that coaching staff there in San Francisco. So he had the silver spoon in his mouth when it comes to coaches, Charlton, because he had that insight. He was 4A State Player of the Year in Georgia twice, Charlton. He actually beat out the great Calvin Johnson when he was a junior, the great wide receiver of the Detroit Lions who went on and played at Georgia Tech, Charlton.
Yeah.
But, when you think about Sean McVay and what he's been able to accomplish as an NFL head coach, Charlton, it's about giving the opportunity. We talk about the lack of opportunities that black coaches get, Charlton, in the NFL, saying, well, they haven't been coordinators.
Yeah.
Well, McVay wasn't a coordinator either, Charlton.
He was just white.
He was just given the opportunity.
Yeah.
And when you look at a lot of the coaching hirings this offseason, Charlton, they were not coordinators.
Nope.
They were position coaches.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, his position coach, his quarterback position coach, Charlton, getting the head coaching job in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So, it's a disadvantage, Charlton, to minorities and coming up with excuses of them. When he left high school in Georgia, he went to Miami of Ohio. He hoped to follow up after Ben Roethlisberger at Miami of Ohio, Charlton, but injury sidelined his college career, and he got a job in the NFL.
Yep, that tends to happen. So, Louisiana Congressman Cedric Richmond, he wants to bring the commissioner, Ross Goodell, in front of Congress. Congress can't even fund the government. To talk about the Saints' loss, if the commissioner is going to show up to talk about a team that lost a game, he hasn't showed up to talk about why almost all the African-American coaches have been fired. For anyone who hasn't recognized, African-Americans make up about 70% of the NFL's players, 70% of the rosters. But when you retire or you get released from a team, it's hard to find work in the industry that you've made a multi-billion-dollar industry. If the Goodell's going to meet with a congressman, shouldn't it be about that more than the Saints losing? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, this is an embarrassment to sports that these congressmen are crying and talking about bringing the commissioner in, Charlton, about the loss of a game.
Yeah.
They're not bringing the commissioner in about CTE that players suffer, Charlton. They're not bringing the commissioner in about lack of health care for retired professional football players that 5 years after the game, Charlton, they lose their league health care, Charlton. They're not bringing the commissioner in for things that matter for the athletes.
Yeah.
They want to bring the commissioner in, Charlton, crying about a loss. Think about all the teams, Charlton, now that are bringing the commissioner in when they got a bad call in a loss. You know, but think about Pandora's box that you're opening up there.
Yeah.
You know, here's a congressman, Charlton, that could be voting to open up the country, to get federal workers paid, Charlton.
Betting on football.
And he's crying about a football game.
He betting on football.
I don't know if he was a congressman, Charlton, a decade ago
Yeah.
when they had Bounty Gate in New Orleans.
Yeah.
They didn't talk about bringing the commissioner in for Bounty Gate, Charlton.
No, they just said they were tough. They were tough men. So we know all's fair in love and war, and we just hope to keep them honest. That's why we bring it up so much. It's so important that if we're going to talk about investigating anything, investigate employment practices, not if a team won a game or lost a game. Big C, with the Senior Bowl being played this week in Mobile, Alabama, John Elway, your friend, should be on the hot seat. He has to find a quarterback, or somebody else needs to, because he hasn't had success doing it. His last two running backs that he drafted, Devontae Booker and then Royce Freeman, they were beaten out by a free agent. John Elway has been given the benefit of the doubt. His father, Jack, coached at Stanford. Just like McVay, when your father's in the business, it's easier to get into the business. But this guy's been given so much leeway, and he hasn't really produced since the Peyton Manning retired. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, if you think about John Elway, the only success he's had as a general manager with the Denver Broncos was having a cast-off veteran quarterback by another NFL team, John Elway, not John Elway, but Peyton Manning, who was a Hall of Famer. You know, and he brought him in, and he gave him a quick fix, Charlton.
Mm-hmm.
But you think about when he brought in Peyton Manning, he knew that Peyton Manning was on his last leg, Charlton.
Yeah.
That when you brought in Peyton, you needed to start drafting players.
Yep.
He drafted your friend Brock Osweiler.
He's not my friend.
He's gone. Okay? He's gone.
Yeah.
He drafted Trevor Siemian.
Yeah.
He's gone. He drafted Paxton Lynch. He's gone. But, you know, John Elway had the audacity to say he made a mistake in hiring Vance Joseph as a head coach, a black guy as a head coach in Denver.
Yeah. Yep.
But he's never said, Charlton, that he's made a mistake in the draft picks that he's made.
No.
That he gave Vance Joseph to work with, Charlton.
Yeah.
You think about it, he hired John Fox because he gave him those same draft picks to work with, Charlton.
Yeah.
So as John Elway has stood up and said, you know, he's made a mistake in hiring head coaches, he's made a bigger mistake in drafting personnel, Charlton.
Oh, yeah.
When you think about John Elway and the personnel that he has drafted, there's only two of them, Charlton, that have really panned out. Von Miller,
Yep.
you know, is the first one to pass out. And then the rookie from North Carolina State that he drafted this last season, Charlton, the other defensive end.
Yeah.
He has no idea who to draft on offense. The reason why he could draft defensive players, Charlton, he knew who he was running for his life against.
Yeah.
But now, Charlton, he's saying that everybody else is the problem.
Yeah, it's always somebody else's problem. But he needs to just look in the mirror at times. So tonight in college basketball, you got to think about last night. We have some big games tonight, but last night, #1 Tennessee, we previewed that game. They had a huge scare being pushed in overtime by Vanderbilt, coming out with an 88-83 victory, led by forward Grant Williams. The team had 43 points, 23 of those on free throws. That shows how it's important to shoot your free throws, Big C. Tonight's top games in men's basketball, #4 Gonzaga. This team is 18-2 in a conference matchup with Santa Clara University. It's 11-9. Gonzaga's been so consistent under Coach Drew the last 20 years. They're almost like Duke on the West Coast, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, Gonzaga, Charlton, has been that hidden gem on the West Coast. You know, we talked about the demise of the Pac-12, Charlton.
Yeah.
That, you know, they don't have anybody in the national rankings in the top 20, Charlton, in the country.
Yeah.
But Gonzaga up there, Charlton, in the Northwest, in Spokane, you know, has been that dominant team on the West Coast, Charlton, really for the past decade. They have quietly assembled a dynasty up there, Charlton, in that small gym that's packed every night. It's like Cameron Indoor Arena of the West Coast, Charlton.
Yeah.
That is a hard seat to obtain. And, I mean, they always have a waiting list trying to get in.
Yep.
but Mark Few has kept the excitement of West Coast basketball going at Gonzaga University, Charlton.
Yeah, you look at also around the country, Big C, in the Midwest, number 6 ranked Michigan State, 17-2. They're at Iowa, number 19 in the country at 16-3. That might be the game of the night, but I still think that Santa Clara game might be more interesting than people think. And even though we talk about Michigan State and Iowa back there in the Big Ten, I'm looking at Nevada being one of the top 2 teams on the West Coast. They're really playing some good basketball out of the Northwest. But give me your thoughts, Michigan State, 17-2 on the season, ranked number 6. At Iowa, number 19, 16-3. That's an upset in the making, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, those are always hard-fought battles, Charlton, in the Big Ten, and you never know who's going to rise up. I mean, Michigan State has been on the top of the heap, Charlton, for the past several years, a consistent presence in the NCAA tournament. You look at Tom Izzo, the job that he has done there. Matter of fact, that's Draymond Green's alma mater. Well, when you think about your buddies out there on the West Coast in Golden State.
Yeah.
So, he's played that power type of basketball, Charlton, and every game is a slugfest in the Big Ten this time of the season.
Yeah, it's always important. These games are starting to make more sense because after the Super Bowl is crowned the champion on February 3rd, then we'll start paying more attention to the college rank because colleges all over the country, they may not have big-name players for every team, but if you have the right atmosphere, it's always exciting to watch. As we look at the women's basketball, we always want to pay homage to the women who are doing great things on the college hardwood. Number 1 ranked team in women's college basketball. They're playing tonight, number 1 Notre Dame. They're taking on Tennessee in Knoxville in a game that has all of the hype, but it should be even more hype, but sometimes women just don't get the same hype that the men get. But give me your thoughts. This is a game where it's tough to win down in Tennessee. This is a Tennessee, we know they have a name of being a football school. But I'm telling you, their basketball is really carrying the torch for the Volunteers down south. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you got to think about the emotional push that the Lady Vols will have tonight after that epic wins by the men's basketball team versus Vanderbilt last night, Charlton. So, can the Lady Vols pick up the tempo and hold that momentum that the men's team had last night against number 1 Notre Dame?
Yeah.
Some of the greatest games in college basketball history, Charlton, have been held in this arena by the Lady Vols, and so can they rekindle that tonight against Notre Dame?
Well, they're going to try to do that, Big C. I mean, there's so much excitement around the sports, and I just want to encourage people, go out and support, women's basketball. I remember down when I was growing up, there was always Cheryl Miller down at UCLA, and then when I got involved in media, I was always doing Stanford and Cal Berkeley basketball games in the Pac-10 at the time, and Stanford on the Farm had a great place to play basketball, Maple Pavilion. Just an incredible environment, and they were always winning, Big C. The number 4 Louisville takes on number 22 Florida State in Tallahassee down south. Number 7 Mississippi State, they take on Florida. So there's some great games being played in the state of Florida. Clemson, they take on number 8 North Carolina State. Number 25 Missouri, they're in Lexington facing number 15 Kentucky. These are programs, for the most part, that are also good in football, but just give me your feel on those games, especially that Louisville-Florida State game in Tallahassee. Your thoughts?
Well, that's Victor Oladipo's alma mater, Charlton, who tore his quad last night in Indiana. But when you think about the ladies down at the University of Louisville, Charlton, they've been a perennial top 10 team, Charlton, for the last 5 years in ladies basketball.
Yeah.
And they've carried the torch of that program that Rick Pitino, you think about how he had the men's program always in the top rankings in the country, Charlton.
Yep.
And now the ladies have become the dominant team in Kentucky Fried Chicken country.
Yeah, I feel sorry for the Yardbird. Let me ask you a question. Why do they call it Yardbird? I saw a commercial where some good old boys had the chickens in the house. Why do they call it Yardbird down south, Big C?
Well, Charlton, he's a Yardbird.
Is it
to survive, I mean, he'd have to stay in the pen. Once he get out in the yard, as they call it, free game, Charlton.
Free game. Now, I don't mean to make Michael Vick wake up, but I love animals, okay? But when I see mainstream do a commercial, now I'm gonna say something that's not even flippant, but people might assume it is. I look at diversity in television. We look at how we've come so far from Amos and Andy and all the garbage TV shows that we had back in the day. But I see more commercials where they'll have mainstream, they'll say a Caucasian woman on the sofa with a big dog. A dog can get a commercial when still black men are lacking TV commercials. I'm not even joking about it. There's a commercial where a lady was doing a commercial for an alarm. This dog was as big as her. She goes, "Come on, Fido, it's time to go to bed." And the dog sits there and kind of yawn. And she says, "I guess we'll be sleeping on the couch tonight." Number one, who sleeps with a dog? And number two, how is it easier for a dog to get a commercial than the black guy, Big C? I'm not even being flippant, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, that's how society looks at it, is that, you know, animals are more rated than, you know, minority human beings in this country, Charlton. I was having the conversation with my daughter not too long ago, and she said, you know, you really don't see any Hispanic commercials on television.
No.
As big as the Hispanic influence here is in the United States, Charlton.
Yep.
And we're not talking about immigrants. We're talking about people born here in the mainstream, Charlton.
Yeah.
Is that the lack of recognition, equal recognition on television, Charlton, feeling that only a certain minority can sell products, Charlton. That's untrue.
Yeah.
Because everybody that's an American citizen spends their dollar, Charlton. We don't even see Asian commercials. And we think about the economic impact they have on our society in this country, Charlton.
Yep, I just thought it was really eye-opening because I'm sensitive to stuff like that, because if we don't talk about it, no one's going to talk about it. I just thought a dog can get a commercial before a black man, and they had the dog sleeping with the woman on the couch. That's just, to me, maybe all's fair in love and war, Big C. The Farmers Insurance Open, PGA Golf, Tiger Woods, he shot -2, shot a 70 today in the first round. He's a 7-time Farmers Insurance Open champion. And Tiger, obviously, he does better when he's going to most likely make the cut, and he's got the swing with him. And some of the other golfers out there want to give this one credit. There's Mr. Rahm is first place right now. He's -10. And so you got, Rose is also in there, as well as Spieth. They're all in the top 10. But we talked about Tiger moving the needle. And it's his first swing of the club this year in a tournament. I just look forward to it. Now, it's great that, unlike the MMA that had that big fight last weekend, the Saturday before the NFL, NFC, AFC Championship game, Tiger's doing his when they have, the NFL has an off week, so there's really no competition. Even basketball players want to see Tiger if he's in contention on Saturday and Sunday. Just give me your thoughts on this first day. You can't really look at it until we get to Friday and Saturday, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you look at golf right now with the montage of sports that's going on, I mean, we still got the winter baseball going on. College basketball is heating up. You got the NFL Pro Bowl this week, Charlton, down in Orlando.
Yeah.
And we got the NBA that's flying high.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at golf is one of those sports you can play anytime. I don't know if it will command the television as much as all the interest that's going on with the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl takes main stage on anything, Charlton, and you think about how big that the NBA is. Not many people know, other than people who are really interested in golf, what's going on out there in Southern California.
Yeah.
With the PGA, Charlton.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods has to be in contention. He has to be high up on the leaderboard for that golf to be relevant this weekend. Otherwise, Charlton, those other steady sports that are here every year at this time will command the stage on television.
Yeah, and then last thing, I'll get it with Tiger, Big C. As a football player, I know you were mean and nasty. I've seen you mean and nasty when you ran out of ribs and moonshine.
I took my meat before I ate it.
Nobody with unclean hands when Big C's barbecue are going off. Everybody has some barbecue sauce on their hands. Has Tiger Woods become too nice? You know how some athletes, the guys that are really dominant, they don't want people to like them. They don't even trust people that like them. Barry Bonds didn't want anyone to like him. Conrad Dobler didn't like people liking him. Mean Joe Green, he didn't want people liking him. Ed Too Tall Jones, Randy White. They didn't want people liking him. Cruising with the twos, Matuzak, he didn't want people liking him. You think people really cared? Lester Hayes didn't want people liking him. Who's that guy that said he want to play like a bunch of mad dogs play for the New York Giants, Lawrence Taylor? He didn't want people liking him too. When Tiger was sullen, when Tiger had an attitude, when people said, isn't he an uppity, he was dominant. Do you think he's too nice now, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I don't know if Tiger can be considered nice, Charlton. I think everything mellows with time and that the field catches up with you.
Yeah.
As we get older as athletes, Charlton, we're not as dominant as we once were. I mean, look at Michael Jordan. in the latter part of his career when he was with the Wizards. Was anybody scared of Michael Jordan? Even Kobe Bryant, even though he scored 60 points in his final game, nobody feared Kobe Bryant. Everybody wanted to cover him, Charlton.
Yeah.
We look at Tiger Woods. The field in golf, because it's an individual sports, Charlton, has caught up with what Tiger has done.
Yeah.
You know, he put so much intimidation on people early in his career, and he worked so hard to be the best at his craft, Charlton, that once he ascended to a certain level, I mean, he really had nothing left to accomplish. When people talk about him beating Jack as far as the majors, Charlton, that was the media.
Yeah.
Tiger accomplished what he wanted to. The media kept saying, well, he's going to pass Jack. That's like saying everybody was going to pass Wilt, then everybody was going to pass Kareem and Karl Malone in scoring, Charlton.
Yeah.
Those individuals had pushed the envelope to where they wanted it to be. It's everybody else's idea that somebody else has to be better than them.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I think if he stays healthy and he can golf for another 4 years, I think he will beat Jack's record. I know mainstream doesn't want it to happen. It would be anathema to golf, and all the garbage they came up with, the bell curve and all that racist dog whistle garbage they come up with. But I would love to see him do it for this new generation of multicultural Americans. Big C, speaking of multicultural, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man rumble, Big C. What are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, I'm looking forward to some exciting ladies basketball games tonight, Charlton, especially #1 Notre Dame down at Knoxville at the University of Tennessee.
Yeah.
We saw a great game by the men's team from Tennessee last night, Charlton. It was ranked #1 in the country, being pressed into overtime prior to coming out with that victorious win. Now they've had to be ranked #1 in the country more than 48 hours, Charlton. They've reached that 72-hour plateau.
Yep.
Can the ladies team knock off the #1 ladies team in the country, Charlton?
Well, Big C, in order to win, you got to know who's on your team. You got to know who's on your team so they know who to pass the ball to. Hart, and hopefully he knows who's on his team. You can find out everybody's on your team every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever any excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. As we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.